Let's review an article. Good afternoon. Been a long day. You know what I love to do? I love to review other people's articles and with real estate. And I don't know why. Well, here's why. Are you used to you're used to reading something on the internet and thinking it's true? I'm that way, and I think that sometimes, I mean, with real estate, I can kind of tell I have a BS detector that says, "Hey, wait a minute, this is not true. I don't agree with this," and so that's kind of why I like to read the articles. Plus, I like to know what people are being told. So when clients come to me, they can say, "Here's what I saw, and is this true or not?" And we can go over it. So let's get into the article. Here it is. It says top 10 house hunting mistakes to avoid. I mean, it's on Yahoo Finance. I mean, that seems like it's legit, right? So let's go over it. I don't really need to preview too much, but it says when shopping for a new home, it's easy to let emotions get to the best of you, especially in a hot real estate market, but that does not always lead to a sound investment. Buying a home is a huge deal, so it's important to get it right and about it the right and rational way. Buyers are not rational. I disagree with that premise, but we're going to go through everything and let's see. So we have to always remember that the way this is written is top 10 house hunting mistakes to avoid. So this is before you've purchased the home. So number one, not finding a lender first. So the idea here is that you haven't gotten a pre-approval, so you're just looking at houses and you have no idea if you can actually buy one. I agree with this. Why would you go and look at houses and then not be able to write an offer on them? Because you, number one, either don't know how much you can afford for a house, or what kind of mortgage you can get, or most listing agents are going to want a proof of funds submitted with the offer, so that they can compare, somebody that has proof of funds versus someone that doesn't. The person with the proof of funds is always going to win. So I agree with that. You need to find a lender, but what I would say, I would change this a little bit to not getting a pre-approval first. You don't necessarily have to choose a lender first. I'd choose an agent first. Number two, making the house fit. And then the idea here is that you start to settle. I've seen buyers do this. You look at 50 houses, you lose out on 10 of them. You start to get tired of it, and you start to just want to buy anything. It's bad. I agree with what they say. You want to try and get a house that fits, but sometimes people kind of run out of time and run out of stamina. Number three, overlooking location issues. And so this is an idea, like, one of the things that people don't realize is if you're on a busy street, the prices are usually lower than if you're on, when you're in a subdivision. So they see the house, they see the great deal, they're online, and they're like, hey, I want to buy that house. So they're already kind of predisposed to buying it because they've been looking and the prices have been a little bit too high for them. So finally they see a house, and then they get to the house and they see it's on a main street, and it's like, well, we'll buy it. But do you really want to be on that really busy street? I mean, there's a reason why the price is a little bit lower than it is in the neighborhood. Some people can get a great deal if you want to deal with it. I personally don't recommend buying a home on a busy street, but hey, if that's what you want to do. Let me check real quick. I think this is number 4. Yes, it is. Number 4, judging a book by its cover. And this one is about, what if you go to a house and you don't like the way it looks, but it's all cosmetic. So you don't like the wallpaper. You don't like the color of the paint on the walls. You don't like the carpet, but you don't notice that there's hardwood flooring underneath. This is known as judging a book by its cover, according to this article. And I agree with this in a different way. For an example, in University City here in St. Louis, there's a lot of houses that still have the old woodwork, the original woodwork. And it's normally just like it's natural wood. Well, when you're looking at a house online, the natural wood doesn't necessarily look very good. It doesn't pop like it would be like white trim. And so people will just automatically overlook the house without actually going to it. Sometimes you can find a really good deal. The house is beautiful in person when you go. It's just you don't notice that when you see the pictures. So that's something to look out for. And then the other thing too, I mean, if a house has good bones, you kind of have to be careful. Like, what does that mean? You know, you just have to kind of know what you're looking at. So I do agree that you should, consider a house if it's dated, but just pay attention. The next one, not budgeting for improvements. This is an interesting one to me because how many times do you, how many times do you look for a home and say, I'm going to move into it right away and I'm not going to have to fix anything up? It doesn't happen very often. So you should always have a little budget for that. But then another thing that I've seen is people will buy, say, a foreclosure. They'll pay more than any investor would. Okay, so they get the house, but then they don't have the funds. It's at the top of their budget, so they don't have the funds to ever repair the house and make it nice. So they end up buying this house. It's disgusting. They cleaned it up a little bit, but all the systems are still broken and the flooring's still terrible. And then they either let it get even worse or they never fix it up. So yes, I think that's true. You should budget for home improvements before you end up actually buying the home. The next one, waiving inspections. I don't ever recommend waiving home inspections. You'd be surprised at some of the little things that you'll miss. Like I do this all the time, and I'll go through a house, and there are things I miss. But the inspector kind of has a list of what they're looking for each time, so that doesn't happen. Just be aware that in this market, people are trying to buy homes as is. And so if you're against someone who has waived the inspection and it's the same price, they will probably go with that other person. But is whatever you're comfortable, whatever makes you sleep at night is the most important thing for myself. So that's kind of where I'm at. The next one, buying for today, not tomorrow. This is the one I actually disagree with. So it says it can be easy to focus on a property that currently meets your needs, but keep your plans for the next few years in mind when shopping around. You don't want to end up having to sell the home in a short period of time because it no longer meets your needs. One of my most hated interview questions ever asked is, where do you see yourself in 5 years? Because I've looked back time and time again, and you know what? My life is nowhere near like I projected it, nor is it does it bear any resemblance to what I would have thought 5 years previous. If we knew the future, that would be one thing, but we don't, and we're very bad at even figuring it out. So I would say if you're in the market, if you're going to buy a home that you can afford. Okay. Don't worry so much about if you end up getting married down the road and having children and all this other stuff. That's not important. What's important is you have a home to move into right now. And then hopefully hopefully your income grows, your family grows, everything is in your favor. And then you do have an opportunity to move out on your terms to your next home. Not checking out the neighborhood. I just want to see that's number 8. So not checking out the neighborhood. I am shocked by the amount of people that will put an offer in on a house and have never been in the neighborhood, nor would they even drive the neighborhood while the house is under contract. So I always tell my buyers, look, if you put an offer on a house, you need to go check that house. You need to go stalk it. Go find out now if there's something about that house that's bad. Okay. Maybe it's a quiet place during the day, but then at night it turns into just a disaster. Maybe there's randoms walking around the neighborhood at night. You never know these things until you go check it out. And so, of course, I agree with this. Make sure you check out the neighborhood, either while it's under contract or even before, if you have that time. Although you won't have that time right now in this market. Not talking to the neighbors. So they say that if you're interested in buying a home, you should talk to the neighbors. And I will disagree with this. And I will do it by experience. I had a nice lady that was selling her house, and her neighbor was a real estate agent. And when she did list it with me, the neighbor was very, very angry with her. And so she did everything she possibly could to make my seller's life miserable, including going up to the fence every time there was a buyer and a potential buyer, and saying negative things about the owner of the home and saying negative things about the house that really weren't true. But she was really, really a jerk of a person. So, transfer this to some other things. There's some people in America today that still don't want certain kinds of people around them. Okay. Do you think they're going to go out of their way to try and keep that person from buying a home? Absolutely. Absolutely. So just be careful and then you say, well, I don't want to live next to that person anyway, but you're not going to know. You're never going to know what somebody's real motivations are. And so I disagree with this. I would not talk to the neighbors too much. I would not make an effort to base my own personal decision of buying a home on what a neighbor says. I just disagree with that. And then finally, bringing your entire family to a showing. So this is an interesting one. You know, I don't have a problem when people bring their family with them on a house or two, but if we're looking at 5 houses per day, it just kind of takes up a lot of time when we could be showing other houses. We could go be looking at other houses. Also, the parents, you know, in this case, if it's, you know, a younger family and the parents are looking at the home with them, you know, you guys may have different views on, you know, what a good house is. Obviously, if your parents bought a home in the 80s and it was like $50,000, they're not going to be real excited about buying a home today that's like $300,000. The market's changed dramatically. So it's just one of those things. I don't mind if someone brings their family to a showing, but I just understand that, you know, we're going to show probably 50 or 60 houses before you find one that you like. And in right now, by the time you get the offers in and accepted, I mean, you're going to be looking at a lot of houses. So perhaps if you write an offer and it's accepted, maybe then during the inspections, bring the parents over. Or if you do have a whole weekend that you know the house is going to be available, maybe go see the house first. And if you really, really like it and are thinking about putting in an offer, then you could perhaps bring the parents over. But yeah, I don't really think that you should bring the entire family to each showing. I think that would get a little bit out of control. So that's what I have for you today. I pretty much agree with that article. I'm going to put it in the description so that you can check it out for yourself. I don't think that there's necessarily one takeaway from that article that's not something that we might not already know. But, you know, if you start reading about real estate, if you start kind of looking into it and paying more attention to it, some of these concepts won't surprise you when you do actually get out there and start looking for houses. So anyway, that's all I have for you today. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening, and I will catch you on the next one.